What's up, snake fans? Dave Palumbo here for Muscle Serpents Daily, and I have my Hypo granite, beautiful female Burmese python here. And today we're going to be talking about Burmese pythons a little bit. I think she's choking up my microphone there, but you know, obviously in Florida here we have a problem in the wild, in the Everglades. We have a lot of invasive Burmese pythons, and because of that now the new law in Florida has changed. People can't breed or possess Burmese pythons without a special permit. I actually happen to have just been granted that permit. I want to thank Florida Fish and Wildlife. You know, I went through all the necessary steps. I'm going to be an educator, obviously. I have the channel here, and I'm going to be doing demonstrations with these snakes and really trying to educate people about Burmese pythons and responsible keeping, because that's what it's all about. It was a lot of irresponsible keeping that led to some of these snakes getting out, and obviously now we have a problem. You know, they just came up with a new program where they're actually putting trackers on the male Burmese pythons, letting them out, and they're leading them to the females where they have these big clutches of eggs, and they're finding big, huge females, and that's helping them cut down on the population growth of these things, which is good. This obviously is a pet. This is not a wild Burmese python, and a lot different than when if you go in your backyard and you have one climbing in a tree and eating, you know, the bunny rabbits in your neighborhood. So we don't want invasive species, obviously. We want to be able to control those. That's proper, responsible keeping, but we also want to keep our reptiles safe. And so I'm glad that they're giving certain permits out to people that are responsible keepers, so we can continue to educate you, show you these beautiful animals here as we love them so much. Burmese pythons have a special place in my heart. This female has produced a bunch of litters. She won't be doing that anymore, obviously, although you know, I will be obviously being able to display these animals. I have one anaconda too that, as you guys know, Annie Hall, that will be displayed as well. And I'm going to build some of these guys some nice big enclosures so that you guys can get to see them in their splendor. As Tom Crutchfield says, give them what they need and they will be the most tame, amazing animals that you could possibly imagine. So anyway, we're going to go inside. We're going to look at some of my holdbacks that I am able to keep. And show you some amazing Burmese pythons. All right, now this is a Hypo granite, just like the mother we just saw, except she's got the albino gene in her too. So this is an albino. So she's got no melanin in her. She's got the red eyes, beautiful red eyes. And they look very similar because Hypo granites really don't have any darkness in them. They just don't have red eyes because they're not albino. So I always liked the Hypo granites because of the fact that they almost looked albino, but they had that black eye. This one, obviously, that Hypo granite, though, is also 100% het albino and green. So we produced this beautiful baby, and this is the albino version of the Hypo granite. And I really, really like the snake a lot. Really cool. He just ate, so I don't want to like disturb him too much. He's giving a little blowing air. Burms love to blow air, which is really just, it's really it's like they're trying to be bullies, like they're pissed off or something like that. But they're not really biters unless they're S-ing up, you know, which she's kind of in a little mini S, but he's pretty mellow, this guy. Unless they're S-ing up, they're really not going to bite you. And once again, they're starting to get to that stage now where they're kind of mellowing out. When they're first born, they're like little freaking slingshots. They'll come and grab you, they'll bite you 600 times in 1 second. Now they're calmed down, they're really mellow. I got a few left to get rid of still. Oh, there we go, you saw that. You saw that little lunge, little little wind-up toy, as I call it. Let's put her in the grass here. Let's let him, I keep calling it she, let's let him kind of feel his oats in the grass here. I like Burms because they have attitude, but they're not nasty by any means. And like I said, as they get older, they get really mellow. I was actually afraid to take the female out because I'm feeding in the facility, and the smell of rat is in the air, and she was looking to get fed. And so I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't take her out. But as soon as I got her out and got her outside, there was nothing to worry about at that point. She was really, really cool. So once again, they're like the puppy dogs of the big snake world. And so it's a great snake if you have the room and you can house it properly and be a responsible keeper. All right, here is another baby from that mother I brought out initially. This is a super Hypo. So that's 2 copies of the Hypo. We call this an ivory or a black-eyed Leucistic. You can see the black eyes. It does have a little bit of yellow down, you know, as a lot of leucistics do, like the super fire boas also have a little bit of yellow in them. Now this could also be green. It might be a visual green. It's definitely a visual granite because both parents are granite. So it's actually a super hypo granite, possible visual green. And you wouldn't be able to tell that because green is a patternless snake, and this is already patternless because it's a leucistic. So they are absolutely beautifully gorgeous. I love a white snake. This is a beautiful female that's still available, and with the pink tongue. I mean, who doesn't want a white berm with a great personality? And like I said, they're still in that little bit of snotty attitude because they're young still, but this female has really calmed down. She's very, very mellow, and she's really, really nice looking. You know, back in the day when they were producing these leucistics, a lot of them had blue eyes initially. Now most of them are just black-eyed. I sometimes look at the eyes and I'm like, maybe that's blue, but it seems black. I think black on white is always more contrasty anyway, but let's put her down in the grass here and see if she goes and plays a little bit. Look at that beautiful snake. Who doesn't want a white Burmese python? That is just awesome. And like I said, when I hear people start asking me about the issue with the invasive Burmese pythons, this snake is not invasive. If you saw all the eagles we have around here and hawks, this snake would be snatched up in about 3 seconds. Okay, you could spot this from 10 miles up. It's so white on the contrast of the green grass. So this thing is not going to survive out in the wild. The wild caught ones perfectly blend in, but these are designer. These are like jelly beans. they're not surviving outside. But once again, we want to be very responsible with how we keep our berms, and big snakes for that matter, and all our snakes, because we don't want anything to become invasive. We have Nile monitor problems here in Cape Coral, Florida. They're all over the place. We have iguanas that are out there, and I don't notice them causing any problems, but other people who say the iguanas like to eat their vegetable gardens and stuff like that. Once again, who am I to say, you know, what's invasive, what's not good? It seems like everything, Mother Nature always has a way of checking and balancing everything, but I support, you know, Florida Fish and Wildlife and their efforts to obviously try to eliminate the nuisance of the Burmese python. But at the same time, I think it's important to educate them and not vilify these snakes. They're beautiful, gorgeous snakes, and I love them. And like I said, I'll continue to keep educating people and tell people about how to keep these things properly and how to breed them. And we'll be doing videos on breeding and as the breeding season approaches and all those other great things. But right now, you know, this is perfect weather here in Florida for these berms. They love it. It's nice and humid here. It's warm. This is just what they like. And that's, you know, my friend Tom Regan, who's like the Burmese python expert, he told me once, he goes, you'll never have a respiratory tract infection in your Burmese pythons in Florida. I said, why not? Because I know a lot of people do struggle with that. He goes, because you have humidity down there and you have heat and warmth. The places where they get the respiratory tract infections, and it's very prevalent in a lot of these Burmese pythons, is places where it's very dry out, winters and stuff like that. What happens is their lung tissue gets dry and cracks, and that leads to infections and stuff like that. Oh, you had enough? Okay, we'll put you back then. Love these snakes. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. We're going to end today's video with a very uncooperative berm. This is my super, actually, it's a Hypo green granite albino. So we got all the genes in here. Only one copy of the Hypo gene, otherwise it would have been completely white. The green has erased all the pattern. We got that yellow kind of speckling in here from the granite. We got the red eyes from the albino. And this is a male that I produced a few years ago, and he's just been my pet. And he will remain here as one of my demonstration animals because he is just a sweetheart. I can bring him to schools and kids can hold him. He doesn't bite or anything like that. He's just really, really very, very well mannered. And he just likes to come out and play. And he's beautiful. And he's got a lot of genes in him. And I'm a morph guy after all. At the end of the day, I'm a morph guy. I love white snakes, but this is kind of like a yellowish white snake, so it's kind of a little bit of a variation on what we produced already. So I really love this little boy. I've showed him to you before. So today's video basically just went over berms, the problem we have here in Florida, the new, obviously, permitting issue we have here. Most people will not be able to get permits to keep these. Most people had to sell off their berms, greed ticks, and amethystine pythons. which are scrub pythons. Those are just not allowed here anymore. Obviously, they're going to be outlawing tegus and green iguanas as well. I think there's still some, I think people have till 2024 to move those out. Look, I don't agree with all the laws. I think that responsible keeping and permitting is the way to go. I'm very happy that I'm able to keep these and display these, and I can't wait to build some big enclosures so that these guys can live the rest of their life in a really, really nice naturalistic enclosure. I think they're going to do really well on that. It'll be a great way for me to display them as well. I'll be building on my property next door a new facility at some point in the next year or so, and that's going to be exciting as well because the guy's going to get much more room to be able to have big enclosures. All right, guys, if you like what you're seeing, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, hit that like button. Guess what? We'll see you back tomorrow morning.